And let's give a few moments for the folks to join in.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. Just like we did for the opening session, we're going to just give it a few seconds for folks to trickle in before we get started. And while we're waiting for folks to trickle in, please don't forget to complete your feedback survey. Now would be a good time to go ahead and get that out of the way as we wait. Okay, it looks like we're reaching a good mass of us this evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Julian Guerrero, Director for the Office of Indian Education. Welcome back. We did it. You did it. From opening keynote to now the closing keynote. Don't forget to complete that feedback survey, but most importantly, thank you so much for staying tuned with us throughout all of the sessions and other various inspirational speakers and topics to cover. Today's closing session, and I don't want to take time away from his opportunity to share a message with you all, is from a dear colleague of mine, a good friend, a brother, if you will, from Crow Agency, Montana. He's an Indigenous scholar, school leader. He has innovatively worked to lead schools toward authentically serving Native children pre-K through 12 in their communities by implementing culturally sustaining, trauma-informed, restorative approaches. He views education as a means for perpetuating story, identity, language of Indigenous communities, and ultimately empowering them toward a better future. So I can think of no better speaker for the closing session to wrap us again in the message of this year's theme, Rooted in Sovereignty. Without further ado, I do want to introduce Dr. Jason Cummins to close us out in this convening. Jason, off to you.
Thank you for that introduction, Director Guerrero. And good afternoon and evening to some of you. It's good to join all of you virtually today. I feel very fortunate to be the closing keynote at this year's 2023 PD meeting. My real name is Awajio Gada, member of the Apsalagan Nation, and I serve as the Deputy Director of the White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity for Native Americans and Strengthening Tribal Colleges and Universities. That title is a mouthful, but it's more like a job description. And we serve the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, and the Department of Interior. And right now is a very exciting time in Indian education. At this point in history, we have the highest number of Native American political appointees serving any administration. And there is a lot of people, just a level of talent, a level of capability working on your behalf right now in DC, and it's exciting. When I was told about this virtual gathering, I began to reflect on my own experience as a practitioner in Indian education. And as a student and growing up, words like career and profession, they really didn't mean anything to me. In fact, I remember some teachers encouraging education as a means to leave the community behind, and that didn't connect with me either. But then when I realized that education could be used to help better the community, now that resonated. As a Native student, when I realized that education could ensure that my auntie mom's cupboard would always be full, that resonated, that motivated. When I realized that with an education, my grandmother's gas tank would always be full. So that motivated me. And as a principal as well, I'm from the Montana area, we use the metaphor of a buffalo in our school. You know, and in times past, a buffalo was a source of sustenance and provision, whether it was for one's dwelling place or tools or food or anything. The buffalo was the source for everything. And so we told our students, and we tell our students, that education is your new buffalo. So in saying that, I want to say that education is also a way to protect sovereignty. Education is a way to maintain sovereignty, perpetuate sovereignty, and education for our students is a way to actualize tribal sovereignty. I want to underscore the positive impact that your work is having in our Native communities. This week's presentations provided wonderful and creative examples of our power as communities, specifically how a tribe was unhappy about how they were portrayed in a local field trip experience. And they've now regained acres of their original tribal land and are building and creating a true, enduring, and treasured history of their tribe. I want to also echo some powerful quotes heard earlier. Just because we can't find the data doesn't mean we lower the bar, by Dr. Blythe George. Ross Bryan said, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're the meal. How true is that? And Dr. Michael Yellowbird emphasized to us that decolonization is not a rebellion, it's healing. You know, I also want to speak to, as a part of the federal government's trust responsibilities, the federal government has an obligation to provide financial assistance for providing educational services to Native Americans in order to promote educational opportunity. The trust relationship obligations stem from treaties and statutes in which education is promised to our nations. And in saying this important fact, I want to emphasize the importance of unity throughout all Office of Indian Education projects. And in this unity, I want to say that and emphasize the importance of a restorative and culturally sustaining approaches in all schools. You know, schools can be places of healing and empowerment. Schools can be and should be places of guidance and instruction for all of our students. And we all know that in our complicated recent history, schools were not always so for our Native students and often served the opposite. In our public schools, the practices that boarding schools once had are still effective in our public schools. A lot of times that's not verbalized, but we know it's true. So right now we have the opportunity in the here and now to make sure our students receive an empowering educational experience. An educational experience that is relevant, that shows them the world they live in and empowers them with the courage and the skills to propel themselves into their reality, to make sure that they can provide for themselves, provide for their communities, and live a good life on this earth. I'll close now, and in closing, I want to say thank you to the Office of Indian Education, Dr. Savis Burns, Bianca Williams, Donna Bussell, Gabby Buje, Dr. Linda Brake, Dr. Derek Begay, soon to be doctor, and the Synergy contract staff, and also Director Julian Guerrero. So thank you all for the wonderful work you're doing. And thank you to all the grantees who are implementing and doing this powerful work in our communities around the nation. I hope.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cummins. We're going to give time back. Congratulations, you made it. Don't forget to do that feedback survey and stay in touch, colleagues, friends, OIE family. Take care.